In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Law, I wish to state that on July the 20th, 2018, the notice of this meeting of the Upper Township Committee was posted on the official Township Bulletin Board, mailed to the Cape May County Gazette, the Atlantic City Press, the Ocean City Sentinel-Ledger, the Herald Times, and filed with the Township Clerk. Tonight's meeting is being video recorded up until the closed session portion of this meeting and will be available on UTTV Channel 97 and on the Upper Township website. I hereby direct that this announcement be made a part of the minutes of this meeting. I would ask all to rise for the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Barbara, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Here.
Mr. Coggins?
Here.
Mr. Person?
Present.
Mr. Young?
Here.
Mayor Palumbo?
Here.
All members are present.
Would someone like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the July 9th, 2018 regular meeting and both the closed session, I guess just A at this time, and B minutes?
Motion to approve. Second.
Is there any corrections, deletions, omissions that anyone's aware of? Hearing none. Would you call the roll?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Person?
I will vote yes on the regular meeting and the B. I will abstain from A.
Okay, you're going to abstain from the A closed. Okay. Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
She's okay. It's not a problem. Yes.
Motion is carried with 4 in favor.
Right,
One
so
abstention to the closed session A minutes and all in favor to the regular minutes.
right.
Okay, and then we have the B minutes, B closed session.
Motion to approve.
I think that, did the motion
Did you
include
include
all?
that?
The motion was actually for both, and Curtis.
That's why Curtis said I.
Yes.
Right.
Only, yeah, that's why he
Okay.
distinguished the way he did.
Okay,
It's
very
a
good
little
then.
confusing for you, but
We'll get
basically
it.
he didn't participate in the A minutes.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Right, so what we're going to do is, we're going to do a little revision here. We have a number of young ladies that are here. We're going to do the presentation so that they can go on their way and have meals or do whatever they need to do. So congratulating, today we have a presentation to congratulating the Upper Township Girls Softball Minor League Level Team DVO on becoming the 2018 Little League Girls Softball Minor Division New Jersey District 16 champions. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to read out the resolution, and I'm going to ask my colleagues here to pass them out as we call the girls up. These are in order, and these are in order. So the resolution reads, whereas the Upper Township Girls Minor League Level Softball Team DVO had an outstanding 2018 season, finishing as undefeated. In June of 2018, the team participated in the 2018 Little League Girls Softball Minor Division New Jersey District 16 Championship games, where they defeated Middle Township with a score of 8-7 to clinch the championship for their division. Whereas it is appropriate that on behalf of the citizens of Upper Township, we recognize and congratulate the players listed as follows. And as I call your name, please come up. Mila Adams, Sydney Cato, and I apologize if I'm not saying it quite right, Lauren Cesari, Sarah Hoffman, Grace Leeser, Kylie McCorston, Gianna Monzo, Jessica Mooney, Kaylee Pinello, Sophia Pirro, Aubrey Pinter, Annabelle Shumsky, Savannah Thompson, Lee Walker, and Ivy Young. Whereas we also extend this recognition and thanks to head coach Christy Hoffman, Sean Cotto, Beth Shumsky, Tricia Thompson, and Jennifer Pirro, who have generously given their personal time and service to coach this team. Now therefore be it resolved by the Township Committee on behalf of the citizens of Upper to extend to the Upper Township Girls Softball Minor League Team DVO congratulations on becoming the 2018 Little League Girls Softball Minor Division New Jersey Division 16 champions, and to each coach heartfelt thanks and gratitude for the generous donation of their time and service to the young people. Congratulations. Congratulations, girls.
It's easy.
Thank you. Thank you guys for representing Upper Township. Great job.
What's Andy showing me? What's Andy showing me? I don't know. Probably wants an ordinance against it. I don't know.
So, Scott, do you have anything for us this evening?
Yes, just one thing, Mr. Mayor. I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to participate as an observer on last Thursday evening, July 19th, for a joint exercise. And the agencies that were involved from Upper Township were the Upper Township Beach Patrol, Upper Township EMS, and Strathmere Fire Department. Basically, they were testing their agency's emergency response capabilities and planning that they have in place. In this case, the scenario was several swimmers in distress, and the drill went like clockwork. Basically, they did not tell. There was only one individual that knew where exactly, what street this particular scenario was going to take place at. And they responded from their headquarters, and they also utilized the Code Red system that we have to basically simulate a joint response of their own agency, in this case the Beach Patrol, to contact as many individuals as possible. In the event it would be like an off-hours type of scenario. So they did an excellent job, and was happy to participate.
Great. Here, Barbara.
I just have one item this evening. The last meeting, July 9th, we adopted a resolution number 202, 2018. The exhibit on the resolution listed the property as 1280 Route 9. It should have been listed as 1280 Stagecoach, and I would just like a motion to accept this corrected exhibit to Resolution 202, 2018.
And just to clarify, that's the nuisance. They misidentified one of the properties, so they really couldn't correct that overgrowth until the correct
Grass cutting.
property's identified. So that's why we're doing this.
So moved. Second. Call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Colombo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. All in favor? That's all I have this evening, sir. Thank you.
Daniel.
Nothing at this time, but we do have a handful of matters for closed session.
Paul.
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Committeeman Coggins.
I just wanted to make the
committee aware of the fact that with our recreation line item in that budget, we're a little bit extended beyond where we thought we would be year to date. So in order to kind of get that back in line, we are going to meet, Committeeman Young, myself, Scott Morgan, Larry Cole, and Roy Schoen are going to meet on Wednesday morning, take a look at the remainder of the budget. We've spent over 60% of our budget year to date. Some of it is due to some overruns on the press box for the baseball field. And then there's also some additional requests from the rec department for money for concrete for the batting cages and some lumber for forms, which should be somewhere around $7,000. So we're gonna look at some options maybe to see how we can afford that, whether it's perhaps transferring some money from Public Works, whether it may be putting the project off until next year. Another option may be to forego the fall festival where we would have some money in the events budget that we could swing over there. Or the other option would be perhaps going to the baseball organization to ask them to put up the money for the concrete and the batting cages, especially since this is a project that really only benefits baseball. So we're going to look at the available options and probably have a resolution for that by the next meeting.
So baseball has already contributed quite a number of...
Baseball's
dollars.
contributed $9,000. The township thought we would be spending a like amount so far on the press box. The township has spent $24,000 with an additional estimated $2,000 that remains unbilled, which is for gutters and concrete for the press box section of the building that we haven't received our invoices for. So based on our set-asides and what the purchase requests for, we believe that to be another $2,000. So far, year-to-date, the spend in the recreation department's been $145,000. The year-to-date, the year's budget is $220,000. So that leaves us with $75,000 to get to the end of the year. Now, out of that $75,000, we need to pay our recurring expenses, which is the lighting for the fields. We need to be able to maintain our sprinkler systems, whatever materials that we need for lighting the fields, fertilizing, fingerprinting for coaches, any money that we do give to the various teams. So we're going to look at what we really have left, take out the recurring expenses, and then see how we can allocate the rest of the money. Typically, the way it was budgeted, we had anticipated we would be spending about $18,000 a month. With the $75,000, that only gives us $12,500 a month for the rest of the year. So, and then in addition to that, we're looking at the possibility of another $7,000 to $8,000 for the concrete for the batting cages.
Well, I hope that your discussion is productive, because I would like to put closure to this project, to finish it off, get it done, and we move on to some other priorities that we put in place. And I do appreciate the fact that you're watching the line items, and that is good stewards of our, money and allocations that we budgeted. But if there's a way of getting this thing done, and so we can put closure to it, then we move on to other projects.
And just to clarify, there's two issues in talking to the board. He said the board had 10,000 down, but we submitted for the press box, it was 20,000. So we're only 4,000 on the press box from what we originally had estimated for the second floor, electric, everything else. So for some reason, there's a mistake there somewhere. The other thing is for the batting cages, this would be a multi-purpose building. There'll be open to girls softball and everybody else, as well as all the netting is made to be cranked up and removed to be used for pavilion and everything else that the township needs. They put 35,000 into the pavilion already with the netting and the building itself, and additional money for the superior walls.
You're talking about baseball.
Baseball itself. So they got 35,000 into the park there. I thought that Superior Walls was, around 10.
The only thing we have record of is the 9,000 that was paid for the floor.
Right. Again, I'm just telling you,
Okay.
in meeting with them where they are.
Doesn't belong here.
Also, we were supposed at the township to build dugouts. And they went, at their own, got volunteers. And built them at no expense to the township, and if you estimate the value, it's between $4,000 and $5,000 a dugout. And there's, I think they had 4 up there.
What's that?
The dugouts, I
Yes.
think they did 4. They also bought the foul poles for the fields. They put the flagpole up, they're gonna do the memorial and the flagpole. They put a substantial amount of money into this. And we made a pledge to them early in the year, we were gonna have this thing up and running before baseball season even started. And again, we didn't make it, and without them doing what they did, they wouldn't even be half as close to being ready down the road. And for, right now, they have volunteers also to do concrete work. So, I mean, no expense except to us for the labor.
Well,
But
except
we're
for the
also-
material.
We're also in, we'll form it, they'll pour it.
Right, okay.
But again, just like with some of the other things with volunteers, you know, we have to take advantage of that when we can also.
Oh, absolutely. I think the real issue is how we manage to meet the rest of the expenses that we have for the other sports if we are so far over for baseball, and that's where we have to look at
Yeah, so I think.
and working out the rest of the budget.
I'm happy to hear that you're having a sit-down and a discussion about it. And, rather than try and hammer it out.
Yeah, we're not gonna
tonight,
do it here.
But I think, I'll just speak personally, I'd like to see us try and find some way of taking care of this, to put closure to it, so it's done. And then we start, our forecast for a lot of the other things that we have in place, that we need to address as well, so. That was all, I only put my 2 cents into it, that's all.
Yeah, I agree with Rich, it needs to be done,
Yes.
but transferring money is not an issue, because we can't transfer money
Till
until
November.
November.
Right.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm looking to expedite as much as I can with the weather, and also fall season coming up, so that we can finish grading and do the things we have to do there. If we look at it on Wednesday, and then we're talking about another 2 weeks before we can make a motion to appropriate the money. So again, we're going to be.
Well, I think
Once we've worked out a path, which we intend to do on Wednesday, then we ought to be able to free up the money, should we decide that that's
Right.
the best way to go.
Yep.
All right, well, I was going to make a motion to try to move this along, but I won't do that.
Yeah, I think it'll, if we're meeting Wednesday, set some sort of path, and then we can move from there, so. Okay. Anything else?
That's it for tonight?
All right. How about you, Mr. Committeeman Young?
We'll work this out, that's for sure. Really, the only thing we have new coming up again is the Fall Fest and the car show. That'll be November the 3rd. It'll start at 10 o'clock and we'll run 10 to 4. Barb's office and Larry have done a great job already with this, and we named it the Upper Township Pumpkin Classic Car Show and Fall Fest. So we'll keep the pumpkin theme going. And we've already had meetings and getting all this underway. We're also looking for more sponsors to help offset some of the cost of this. The bands I've already taken care of the bands, their schedule. And Larry's getting ready to put this out. All the appropriate news agencies or whatever, there's a lot of car clubs in this area. And the interest has been really great in the beginning, so, but instead of starting at 5 in the morning, we're going to open it up at like 8 for the vendors, or 6 o'clock for the vendors, and the show actually will be 8 o'clock, not 6 o'clock, as far as letting the cars come in to eliminate the time frame that we had. We are looking for volunteers again, so we can keep our costs down, and maybe not have as many employees have to fill these voids. And other than that, that's about it.
Yeah, and I did talk to Larry about that sponsor that you and I talked to, so he's going to reach out to him.
Okay.
Deputy Mayor Barr,
I have nothing to report, sir.
Committeeman Corson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this time, I have nothing.
Okay, so I Scott had talked about the lifeguards. I want to acknowledge the lifeguards have, besides doing a great job on the beach, as they do every year, they're doing very well competitively this year as well. So that doubles team that we have has now won the county races, has won the tri-resorts, won the Lang City Classic. So and these are Ocean City High School rowers, so they're really doing a great job for us, as the whole squad is. So acknowledge, and tonight they have the MS Row, which has traditionally been a great fundraiser for MS, and that's being held at the Deauville while we speak. So hopefully they'll have a success with that. And then I just wanted to add that one of the reasons why I wasn't there at the last Thursday was because Hobie and I and Paul were with the planning board, and we were going over and making some looking at the re-examining of our master plan and some of the other things. So we should be coming forth with that document probably after that special meeting we're having August 5th,
Right.
is it?
The drafts will be, they're scheduled to be on file at the Township Clerk's office.
This week.
On Friday. The planning board will have a special meeting on August 8th. And then hopefully we'll be doing an introduction and adoption here at Township Committee for the enacting ordinances and endorsing the fair share plan in August.
It's two things, actually. One is the master plan reexamination, and that obviously involves the affordable housing issues and the fair share housing issues. That master plan reexamination is done in conjunction with the ordinance revisions that are required under our settlement agreement with fair share housing. The only ordinance that's being adopted is the ordinance for the changes for the affordable housing in the Memorial Town Center.
Well, but there were some secondary ordinances that the planning board had put forth to the Township Committee. That
They're
the
not
end of-
required to be on that
They're not.
track,
Correct, but
that 30-day track. I haven't seen those yet. I didn't know that they were going to be put, is your anticipation that they're going to be introduced on the 13th?
that was what I thought we were doing.
I haven't seen them yet, so.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So
And we're not required to introduce those
Right.
nor adopt them next month, but you are required under the settlement agreement to
and that
have
has to be
the.
done by August 28th, right? I think that's
Yes,
the date.
yes. And that's the one we have been reviewing. I've been speaking to Paul, speaking to our Affordable Housing Special Counsel, and also speaking to our planner. So that'll be on file at the end of the week, the proposed
So
ordinance.
the planning board's on track to do what they need to do at their end for the responsibility, so that it'll be prepared for the committee. So I'm just giving everybody a heads up that you will be seeing it very shortly, and we'll go forward based on Dan's guidance on what we need to do, so that's all I have. Let's move on to the resolutions.
Okay. Under resolutions, honoring Bruckner Chase, Michelle Evans Chase, Rebecca McGill for their work with paraplegics through the Ocean City Swim Club and Blue Journey Unified, an initiative created by Bruckner Chase Ocean Positive Incorporated.
Move the resolution? Second.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
And Mayor Palumbo?
Yes, and for those of you that don't know, when we'll honor them through a resolution. Bruckner is has a great program down at the Beasley Point Beach. He takes people that have had some severe injuries, spinal injuries, in other areas where they're paralyzed, and really has turned it into a real positive opportunity for folks to be utilizing on paddle boards out at the Beasley Point Beach. So he really puts a lot of time in. He also works closely with our lifeguards to help them with their swimming techniques and everything else throughout the winter. So it's going to be a great opportunity for us to honor him for the things, and his group for what they do. So.
Absolutely. Item number 3, honoring George Adams on his retirement from the Township of Upper.
Move the resolution?
Second.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 4, authorizing the township to participate in a regional submission for a Resilient New Jersey grant application.
Move the resolution?
Second.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 5, in support of the installation of a no-passing zone along Stagecoach Road, County Route 667, between Hope Corson Road, County Route 671, and Church Road, County Route 602.
Move the resolution?
Second.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 6, authorizing the mayor and township clerk to sign a contract with KD National Force Security and Investigations, LLC, for professional security services.
Move the resolution?
Second.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. 7, authorizing the mayor and township clerk to sign a contract with Cape Professional Billing, Cape Medical Billing for emergency medical billing services.
Move the resolution? Second.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried with all in favor. Item number 8, accepting the bid and authorizing execution of a contract for re-roofing of the Upper Township Municipal Building.
Move the resolution.
Second.
You want to tell us about this, Paul?
This is a project that we put it out for rebid, and when it did, Journey Contracting was the lowest responsible bidder, and their bid was within the budget and engineer's estimate for the project. Upon approval of the resolution, we'll coordinate with the contractor in getting all the contract documents signed and approved, and once that's done, he'll be able to give us a better timeline on the delivery of the shingles and when he can get it scheduled, but he's hoping to have it done here as quick as he can get the shingles in. He hopes to be able to start work on the project.
And you showed us the copy of the shingles earlier.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions from anyone?
Good.
Call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 9, authorizing the mayor and township clerk to sign a contract with Sosh Architects for architectural services.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 10, authorizing a mobile home park license for Osprey Cove.
Move the resolution?
Second.
With this license and the fact that they're not complete yet, does that affect anything? Or?
I have a conflict on it, but generally speaking, they have to be licensed if they're operating.
Mr. Briggs has reviewed.
Because they still have to meet their code.
Right, it's still under construction, so, they've been working.
I just want to make sure
They're in compliance
Okay.
with all their site plan requirements, including the affordable housing obligation.
Not a problem.
And the conflict attorney has reviewed everything with respect to this. Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
I will abstain.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried with 4 in favor. Item number 11, authorizing the mayor to sign the deed restriction for an affordable rental property on Block 348, Lot 25.
Motion to authorize?
Second.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried with all in favor. Item number 12, authorizing the award of a contract with W.B. Mason for office supplies.
Motion to authorize?
Second.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. All in favor. Item number 13, refund EMS ambulance billing overpayment to Payment Resolution Services, LLC.
Move the resolution?
Second.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 14, appointing Lawrence C. Cole as the Municipal Alliance Coordinator of the Upper Township Ocean City Municipal Alliance Committee.
Move the resolution. Second.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 15, tax refund for Bill 479, Lot 37.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. 16, authorizing the Upper Township Pumpkin Classic Car Show and Fall Fest to be held on November 3rd, 2018 at Amanda's Field, and setting the admission, vendor, and participant fees.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize, but with an amendment. What I'd like to look at is in section number 3, the following fees charged. Rather than put a set fee in here that kind of locks us into this year, how about if we put a fee in for not to exceed? For example, food vendor not to exceed $200.
Who's
For
going to
non-
determine how much, though? Who's going to have the discretion to tell you how much the fee is?
So if we do change the fees for next year, then we're going to have to,
Yeah, this isn't an ordinance, this is a resolution for
Oh,
this
okay.
event.
Just for this
So next year, we can change it with the resolution. In fact, this year, they actually were increased
with
from last year.
Well, the only thing that I really have a question about looking at this is I think maybe the fee for each car in the show is a little bit low. And even subsequent to Mr. Schuler's comments during public comment at the last meeting, we may want to think about a registration fee of, $25 and then $30 at the gate.
We did, all of these fees have been raised since last year.
The problem is if you get the fees too high, and not that, we aren't awarding prizes, are we?
Pardon me?
We're not awarding prizes.
Right now, we're not awarding trophies. And the shows do have the judging and all that, they have to raise the fees because they actually have to hire certified officials to judge the cars. If we did anything at all, as far as an award, we talked about possibly just doing like maybe a mayor's trophy for his best, favorite car, maybe a township committee trophy.
I know nothing about cars.
No, but I mean, then you can turn it to, it's not a showpiece, it's basically, I like this car and I'm gonna present it. But right now, nothing in the works for this. I will say that having done cars for the last 30 years, $20 is the average payment to come in. They're supplying the products for the show. And they don't mind paying if it's benefiting somebody or a cancer victim or something like that. They'll pay just about anything to do it. This isn't a charity fundraiser. This is just for us to put on an affair at the park. So 20 is in line with what I know as far as all the other shows in the area.
And what was last year's fee?
15.
And I'm just thinking last year, we kind of went upside down and,
Well, we went upside down because we didn't have enough manpower and we made a few glitches on it.
They probably let 100 cars in with no charge.
Every bit of 100 cars.
Yeah.
They were 15 or 20 last year?
15 or 20, you mean? that
The-
the
the
amount?
entrance
fee.
I think it was $15. I'd have to
I
check back,
forget
but I
now.
know all these fees were
We
raised.
probably missed, out of the 800 cars or so we had, we probably missed 150 cars, just because first time out of the gate. So we also are also going to raise up the fees as far as parking and.
All those
include
fees
all
were
the fees are going to be raised up to help offset that.
Vendor
fees.
fees, they were all.
And hopefully we can streamline the process this year and not have quite as much money going out in police and security and township employees.
I mean, the problem was last time was the cars waiting to get in. And maybe if we,
But we parked them right away last year. I don't think we can change that. But what we're going to do is we're going to collect their money at the gate curb, give them their registration paper, and then I'll have somebody going around and collecting it. Last year, we parked them, then tried to catch up with them, so we wouldn't back up the
well,
road.
if we, instead of backing up Route 50, if we actually entered the cars in off the back road, the back gate, that would give them a spot to wait and we could back them up a little bit.
Yeah, last year we did take them up on Sunset and turn them around. The problem is we can't bring them in the back gate because of speed bumps. We have to have a direct run because a lot of the cars are so low to the ground they can't clear the speed bumps. That's why we had to do it in front. But, we're going to try to do a better job of using Sunset to stage them coming back in again.
And we're going to have a different procedure to
Yeah,
collect
yes.
the money.
So in other words, if we made it competitive, we'd raise the fee.
What's that?
If it was competitive, we'd raise the fee to offset the
I think
cost.
once it's established, and if we're going to have awards, yeah, what I found with awards, it's just a nightmare, because it's always, well, how come my card didn't get picked, or that judge, the same old thing, everybody doesn't get a trophy, so.
I could have to.
So that's why you're suggesting the mayor's spot?
So everybody get mad at you.
I don't think that's a good idea.
Forbes idea. No, I just think we were throwing around some ideas to try to enhance it, but again, I think this year, we'll keep it status quo and try to take care of the little glitches that we had, and hopefully we can either make money or break even on it this year. I think we were within about $2,000 last year. For a show, it wasn't too bad. Yeah.
Well, we do have a sponsor that's willing to give some significant sponsorship to it, so until they actually sign the contract and give us, we'll see how that plays out. But there's a verbal commitment that someone's willing to sponsor this, so.
All right, so I'll amend my amended motion to authorize.
Second.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
And Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 17, renewing Echo Farms campground license.
Motion approved.
Second.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Abstain.
Abstain. Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried with 4 in favor. Item number 18, under new business, South Shore Stitchers request to hold a raffle number 500 at the Tuckahoe Methodist Church on November 11th, 2019 at 7:30 p.m.
Motion to allow?
Second.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 19, under discussion, National Fish and Wildlife Foundation Coastal Resilience Fund.
Paul?
Yes. Again, this was we briefly discussed this grant opportunity last meeting, and we're bringing it back just to, because it is a one-to-one match, and they're looking to, for planning grants, they're looking to have anywhere between $100,000 and $300,000 in awards for that level. And between last meeting and this meeting, I was able to reach out to several consultants to get some of the base pricing on what it would be. And because of the extent we have about 1.1 miles of back bay area that we would want to try to protect in order to get the mapping and the wetland delineation and to do all the permitting for that. We'll need close to about $100,000 in permitting and environmental specialist costs. And so that
And that's
would
before any work's done.
be, excuse me?
And that's before any work's done?
That's before any work is done.
I mean, honestly, it's a lot of money. But if it's one-for-one grant, if we're gonna protect Strathmere in any way, shape, or form, we need to do this. And this is an opportunity, at least somebody's paying for half the loaf. I'm not,
So by the
Positive we're gonna come up
100,000,
with
are you talking
50,000?
about 50,000 on our end, and 50,000 from them?
Correct.
I mean, we have probably money in our shore protection.
Yeah, but I don't
Well,
think
this-
we're allowed to use that.
We're not,
I mean, we contacted Leon Costello, and it's my understanding we're not allowed to use that.
we would have to set up a municipal bond similar to what we would have done for like a beach field project, and we would allocate professional service fees out of that bond as well as some initial construction, but, obviously that wouldn't happen. You wouldn't authorize those funds or even authorize the preparation of that bond until we knew we were going to receive the grant.
I think it would be wise and prudent to apply for this grant.
Yeah, I agree.
To put in all this bulkhead and all this beach replenishment and leave the back door wide open is totally ridiculous.
So so what's the time period to apply for the matching grant?
I essentially have to have it done by the end of this week. I have a little bit the following, it's due on August 7th, but I'll have a little bit of time to be able to get it done.
And when do we think that they'll acknowledge, who receives the grants?
The grant award is in November of this year.
So would we, would we need to have the matching fund for November, or will it's something that will be done next year?
When I started looking at the time frame and looking at, I had put in the proposal that we would start work on the project in March, February, March of 2019.
We get into next year's budget.
And so, next year's budget, and also, some of
That gives us
their
time.
money would,
We get awarded the grant, they're not going to let us spend it until we have matching funds in place. That gives us till March to get matching funds in place.
correct.
That's perfect. That sounds like it's a good scenario.
Right, so the question is, for our responsibility, if someone wants to make a motion to move forward so that Paul has some guidance, because it sounds like you're kind of stressed on time to be eligible for
You need to
the...
authorize him to submit the grant. 'cause
That's a grant.
I will make that in the form of a motion. We authorize Paul to submit the grant, proceed with this.
And just,
There's like
before we take a vote, if I could also, some of those matching dollars is also for my reimbursable time. So I'm going to be accounting for some of the public outreach time, as well as preparation of a lot of the engineering plans and the actual, some of the documents.
So your work is
So my work,
reportable, that will help defer some of the costs.
Correct. So
I say we bill Paul $10,000 an hour.
Whenever on our design phase, I honestly think it needs to be wide enough so we can put a nature trail, bike path, or something up there.
well, a lot of that's going to be based on working with a really good ecologist in talking about, because we're talking about working right along the fringe of the coastal wetland marsh and the upland, and it's going to be a difficult permit to get, but one that we're going to have to work with others. That's one reason why I've put in the scope of work to look at some wetland mitigation planning, because we're probably going to have to fill, in order to build it, you're going to probably have to fill some coastal wetlands, so we're going to have to probably mitigate those wetland impacts at another location. But yes, that is going to be, we're going to attempt to do that kind of a situation, but it'll also have to play out in the public, as far as the public outreach.
That's the only way I'm in favor of it.
Okay.
All right, so we have a first and a second to permit Paul to move forward with the application for a matching grant.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Thank you.
Bills.
Would someone like to make a motion to pay the bills?
I hereby move that all claims submitted for payment at this meeting be approved and then incorporated into the full minutes of this meeting.
Second.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
And Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
There are 5 reports from the municipal departments: Animal Control, Clerk's Office, Finance Office, Department of Public Works, and Municipal Court. All of those reports will be available upon request of the Clerk's Office tomorrow. I'll make a motion to accept these reports.
Second.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
And Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Okay, this time, we'll open it up. If anyone from the public would like to address the Township Committee, now's the time to do so. Please come to the pulpit over there and, state your name and the free reason to address the Township Committee.
I'm Linda Bateman, 14 East Tecumseh, Strathmere. I'm also president of the Strathmere Improvement Association. If I could ask a follow-up question to Paul, what will the impact be on water on the grant? Will Commonwealth and the homes in Whale Beach then have water trapped that can't get out into the marshes? Will that increase flooding and property damage?
No, there's already stormwater outfall structures along Commonwealth Avenue, so they're still will be tied in. We'll probably, if they do not have tide floodgate structures on them, we'll probably maybe look at having to add some of the tide valves on
So
those.
water now doesn't go out into the marshes from,
Yeah, it does.
and won't that be trapped by the whatever this is called that you want to do? The dune?
I mean, that's what,
That's what the grant's
that's what the grant is to do. We're not.
Okay, I'm trying to understand this concept.
The grant is to make a survey, a study, And the design.
I mean, we certainly don't want to put a design that's flawed that will hold the water in. We want the water to drain out. but-
Right now, what is it, like the last hurricanes we've had, the storm surge came across the back bay. I mean, the beach and the bulkheads, that's all beautiful, but if you don't stop the water.
Right, I'm asking the question. Also wanted to commend the EMT on his observing of the speed limit on the beach. He goes, the speed limit, he waves, he nods, it's wonderful to see. And he sets a great example for the lifeguards. We have a lot of tracks still on the beach, and we have big sections of the beach roped off for the birds. Plovers hatch and immediately go to the water, and they literally fall into the tracks and can't get out. So it's really critical that they're super aware of course, obviously, safety of people as well. Also wanted to ask about the Bayview paving from about the 900 block to the boat ramp. There are huge potholes there. The boats and trailers hit it. There's a lot of bike traffic. We rode our bikes last night between the puddles and the people and the jet skis trying to get out. It's really treacherous, and it just seems to end. Is there a plan to finish that or fill it in?
Yes.
It's not quite the size of the one out on Roosevelt, but it's a pretty big.
At the last meeting, the committee discussed putting forth another municipal bond for public improvements, and within that road paving project, that section of Bayview Drive is in one of the suggested roads for road paving.
So there's no temporary fix?
Well, Public Works, I'm sure if there's potholes, just like any other pothole in the township, I'm sure they can get out there and take a look at it to repair it.
That would be great, thank you. I also wanted to ask about the new shed on Whale Beach. It was about a $4,500 expenditure. It's in the 1500 block of Commonwealth. I know that it was discussed during the budget workshop that I attended. I'm not sure what its purpose is on an unguarded beach and how it's secured. Will it stay there?
Well, one of the reasons why they put the shed there is that there were complaints from individuals saying that they didn't want the lifeguards transporting, their tools that they need to do their job. So
But it's an
in order to
unguarded
do
beach.
that, we put something down the south end so they don't have to travel every day with the paddle boards and the equipment that they need to do their jobs.
But they don't patrol down there.
Yeah, but it allows them to get from the south end and move north so that they're not traveling in the bird nesting area as much.
And how will it be, well, I'm assuming it has to be removed. How is it secured to the beach? The wind last night was incredible.
No, if an impending storm comes, that storm that came had a lot of wind, but there wasn't really any coastal flooding. They were talking about flash flooding from rain, but
No,
not.
I'm talking about wind. I mean, things were,
In the event of a hurricane,
furniture blowing over
in the event of a hurricane, the shed will be removed.
and do we have the equipment in-house, like Public Works will come and do it?
Sure.
Or does the shed company come and do it?
Absolutely.
And it also will be removed at the end of the season.
And where will it go when it's removed?
It'll be stored at Public Works.
Okay, so it's a 12 by 12 shed and it holds paddle boards and,
It holds equipment that the lifeguards are utilizing to do their jobs.
and Mr. Coggins, I read the story in the paper about you're working with departments on their budgets, so I'm assuming that lifeguard personnel and those things will be looked at in terms of
Absolutely.
beach protection.
Yeah.
Because I know that Mr. Hanley had talked about rolling out additional beach coverage as one of his future plans, so I'd like to ask you to keep an eye on that budget as well. That's a
Absolutely.
big chunk of our budget. Okay, thank you. Oh, and you don't have a date for September yet for coming back to town, do you? That was a wonderful meeting, by the way. I thought that there was a lot of good, I'm talking about the bulkhead.
Honestly, I'm trying to work out my schedule. I have a couple commitments, pharmacy conferences that I'm asked to attend, so, I'm trying to work that out. So
Okay.
it'll be in September. What Saturday, we've yet to determine, so.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to address the Township Committee? Sir, Randy?
My name is Andrew Shaw. I live at 6 Lake Coastal Lane, and I'd like to thank the committee for voting to participate and move forward with the grant for beach protection. I think that's a great idea, and also I'd like to thank you for your efforts with economic development, and if you could, maybe
sir. Anyone else? Now's the time to address the Township Committee. Okay. It appears that there are no other public comment, so we'll close the public portion of the meeting, and I'll go to Mr. Coggins to make a motion to go to executive session.
I hereby move that a resolution be incorporated into the minutes authorizing the Township Committee to enter into an executive session for the following matters pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act. The matters of personnel, contract negotiation with ARH Associates, litigation on affordable housing. I also include in my motion the estimated time and the circumstances under which the discussion conducted in closed session can be disclosed to the public as follows. It is anticipated that the matters discussed in closed session may be disclosed to the public upon the determination of the Township Committee that the public interest will no longer be served by such confidentiality. With respect to employment and personnel matters, such discussions will be made public if and when formal action is taken or when the individuals involved consent that it can be made public. With respect to contract negotiations, such matters will be made public when negotiations have ceased and there is no longer a reason for confidentiality. With respect to litigation matters, such discussions will be made public when litigation is complete and the applicable appeal period has expired.
Second.
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
I'd like to thank you all for attending this evening. Hope you have a great night. Please drive safely home.